Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, with nothing but a dream in your pocket, and the whole world below you telling you it's impossible. You've heard the voices. Maybe they're from others, maybe they're your own, that whisper doubts, scream fears, and echo every past failure. And yet, there's this tiny spark right there in your chest, saying, "What if I can?" That spark, that's your attitude speaking. And as Jeff Keller tells us, that whisper has the power to change your life. Hello, I am Alloy, and welcome to Audiofybooks, where you will find excellent audio summaries of books in a very easy and interesting way. If you want to learn from new books, do subscribe to the channel. Let's get started with today's book. Jeff Keller didn't start as a motivational speaker. He was an attorney who one day realized he wasn't happy. Not a little off, not just tired, but fundamentally unfulfilled. He was climbing a ladder leaned against the wrong wall. And when he stumbled upon the world of personal development, something inside him shifted. He realized that the one thing standing between him and the life he wanted wasn't fate or talent or luck, it was his attitude. And that realization changed everything. In his book, Attitude is Everything, Keller shares not a lecture, but a conversation with the part of you that knows you were made for more. He begins with the simple truth. Attitude is a choice. It's not fixed. It's not given to us at birth, like eye color or height. It's something we decide on, daily, hourly, moment by moment. And that decision colors the way we interpret everything. Think about it. Two people can go through the exact same event, say losing a job. One sinks into despair, convinced it's the end. The other, though scared, sees it as a new beginning, a chance to finally chase that long-forgotten dream. The event was the same, but the story they told themselves about it, completely different. And that story is shaped by attitude. Keller introduces us to what he calls the law of dominant thought, a principle as powerful as gravity in our mental universe. It says that what you think about most, you move toward. If you dwell on failure, fear, and what could go wrong, you invite more of it. But if you fill your mind with possibility, purpose, and positivity, you start to live into that reality. Not by magic, but because you begin to act differently. You make different choices. You speak in new ways. You show up to your life with a different energy. There's a moment in the book where Keller recalls how he used to hate Mondays. Like clockwork, every Sunday evening was poisoned by the thought of another week at a job he didn't love. And then, one day, he decided to test this attitude thing. What if he just chose to enjoy Mondays? Not fake it, but genuinely look for things to appreciate. The difference was stunning. Suddenly, the same job felt lighter. He connected better with coworkers. He started seeing opportunities. It wasn't the job that changed, it was him. He invites us to experiment too. Start by changing your vocabulary. Words are powerful. When you say, "I have to go to work," it feels like a burden. But swap that with, "I get to go to work," and now it's a privilege. Same situation, different energy. When you say, "I'll try," you give yourself an out. But say, "I will," and now you've committed. Keller's not being cute here. He's dead serious. Language is the wiring system of the brain. The words you use program your behavior. Another key theme Keller weaves through the book is visualization. He's a huge believer in mental imagery. Why? Because your brain doesn't fully distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's real. If you see yourself giving a powerful presentation, landing that big client, or walking across a graduation stage, your brain begins to believe it's possible. That belief influences your confidence. And confidence, that changes how you perform. He doesn't just talk about success in vague terms. He gives clear stories. Like the athlete who visualizes the perfect race before stepping onto the track. Or the business person who writes down their goals daily, not as a wish list, but as a declaration. These people aren't lucky. They've trained their minds to work for them, not against them. But what happens when life throws curveballs? When things fall apart and no amount of positive thinking seems to fix it? Keller doesn't deny that reality can be brutal. Instead, he argues that it's precisely in those moments that attitude matters most. You may not control the storm, but you control how you sail through it. He reminds us of people who faced incredible setbacks, bankruptcy, illness, loss, and still chose to believe in a better tomorrow. That belief became the fuel that carried them forward. He tells the story of someone who lost their job unexpectedly. At first, they panicked, but instead of spiraling, they began to ask new questions. What else is possible? What skills do I have? Who can I help? Within weeks, they launched a side business that eventually grew beyond what their old job ever offered. The catalyst? A change in attitude. And that's what Keller wants us to grasp. Attitude is not just about thinking happy thoughts. It's about choosing to respond instead of react. It's about owning your emotions, taking responsibility for your mindset, and refusing to be a victim of circumstances. One of the most emotional parts of the book comes when Keller describes how negativity spreads like wildfire. One person's cynicism can poison a whole group. He urges us to be vigilant about the company we keep. If you want to soar, you can't stay surrounded by turkeys. That's not arrogance. It's self-preservation. You become who you hang out with. So, if you're serious about upgrading your life, start with upgrading your circle. As the book progresses, Keller introduces practical tools. He talks about writing down affirmations, setting goals, and creating morning rituals that reinforce positivity. He shares how starting each day with intention, before the chaos hits, can recalibrate your focus and build mental toughness. Even 5 minutes of gratitude or reading something uplifting can shift your entire day. He also tackles failure head-on. To Keller, failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a step toward it. He says if you're not failing, you're probably not trying. Every rejection, every no, every misstep is data. It's feedback. And if your attitude stays intact, you'll keep going. You'll learn, adjust, and improve. What stands out in Attitude is Everything is that it's not written by someone preaching from a mountaintop. Keller is down in the trenches with us. He's lived through anxiety, career pivots, uncertainty, and still chooses to believe that life can be beautiful if we choose to see it that way. He's not promising perfection. He's offering perspective. By the final chapter, you realize this isn't just a book about mindset. It's a blueprint for living, one where you stop waiting for permission and start stepping into possibility. One where you stop blaming and start creating. One where you stop existing and start thriving. So if you've been stuck, if you've been doubting yourself, overwhelmed by setbacks, or just running on autopilot, this is your wake-up call. You have more power than you think. Your thoughts shape your actions. Your words shape your world. And your attitude? That shapes your destiny. And maybe the only thing you need to do today is believe that a better future is possible. And then choose the attitude that will get you there. Because as Jeff Keller reminds us, attitude isn't everything. It's the foundation of everything.